Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, goal!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
Hey.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. Got Madison with us again.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, but
yeah, and Gian with the new home shirt. I suppose that's one positive. He's managed to get his hands on the new home shirt. Not brought much luck.
Except I think they changed the badge moving forward because the pictures that they posted on Twitter was more centered.
Yeah, I haven't figured that out yet. It looks like it's more off center with different sizes of shirt, but I don't know. I'm not bothered until I see it in the flesh. It's only on pre-order over here anyway. Yeah, it didn't bring much luck, did it? That shirt is what it is.
Torino 7-0. Oh, so
we didn't wear that, did we?
Oh, I did. So
well,
counts for me.
Okay, fair. Right. Well, 2 games to review. It's mental.
Wait,
one of them's...
how is it pre-order for you guys, but somehow Gian has it?
You can get it over here.
Okay. I was like, oh, what?
Well, it's pre-ordered at retailers like, let's say, Sports Direct, where you can actually go into the shop and see it before you buy it. Otherwise, you're just buying it blind. Anyway, yeah, moving on. We've got 2 games to review. One of them was a 7-0 win, and yet we're going to be quite depressed on this episode. So if that doesn't say everything about this football club that we support, then I don't know what does. But we've got to start with a 7-0 win over Torino, which is our biggest margin of victory since the 1950s. First time we've scored 7 away from home since we beat Fiorentina 7-3. There was a 12-minute hat-trick in there for Ante Rebic, which was the quickest in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. And yeah, I think if people thought that the Torino game was going to be tricky because of our recent record there and stuff like that, AJ was the one who went boldly on record and said it'll be our easiest win of the season. We'll win 5-0. And we all sort of laughed at him, thought it was a bit bold. In the end, he underestimated us. But I think you've got to say in terms of a ruthless performance on the counter, something we've been looking for where we actually put away the chances we create, that is as good as it gets for us this season. And it feels like it's been coming. And then you have a game like that tonight and we're back to kind of where we were before in jeopardy. But at least, 7 goals.
Yeah. We look great, but I'm not going to sit here and compliment the team after today.
Right, well, that's
no
what
point, is it? Because all that anyone's going to care about is tonight's result, aren't they? They're not bothered that we beat Torino 7-0 midweek, so...
It doesn't matter, and at the end, it doesn't matter if we don't qualify for Champions League, so...
If anything, it makes it look even funnier that we had those 3 results. Obviously, beating Benevento 2-0, it is what it is, but winning 3-0 at Juve to kind of answer the critics at that point, and then to win 7-0, and everybody just thought, 12 goals over the last 3 games, non-conceded, that tonight's game against Cagliari would be a bit of a cakewalk, and it didn't really happen that way. What are we, 4 minutes in? I don't want to completely skip over the Torino win. So what I will highlight is Brahim Diaz was really good again. Again, easy to compare to tonight where he didn't really do too much, but we'll come on to that because I think Pioli mishandled him entirely. But yeah, Brahim was good again. I thought Rebic actually had a really good game against Torino, providing for his teammates, and then he decided when we were 4-0 up that he fancied a few goals for himself, and he went full-on killer instinct. I enjoyed that. I liked it. Midfield was dominant. The back 4 weren't tested all that much, to be honest. It was just one of those. I mean, it's a historic night, and you know what? If we'd found a way to win tonight, no matter how, no matter what, we'd be looking back on this game with so much more enthusiasm. But the commentator said at some point today, like, if only they could have one of those goals from Wednesday night and add it onto tonight's scoreline, I know it. I don't believe in superstition or anything like that, but it really does feel like sometimes you can use up all your goals in one game. And perhaps when you score 7 goals, it gave Cagliari an awful lot of film to look at in terms of how we attack and how we counter. And they managed to cut it out pretty well today. But yeah, that was it. I mean, a huge historic win, as I say, record-breaking. Made it 3 wins in a row, made it 2 wins out of 2 in Turin. Absolutely fantastic. But it just goes to show that you can have a win like that and you can just undo all of your good progress. The players that looked like they played themselves into form in that particular game against Torino, like Rebic, who looked like he could play the deputy Ibra role and maybe do a much better job than Leao could. Like Brahim Diaz, even Çalhanoğlu had his moments in that 7-0 game. I don't think he was the best on the pitch by any means. But Benacer, Teo getting a brace against Torino, and then not really doing an awful lot tonight. Jekyll and Hyde performances from this team. Whenever they've needed to step up, the Juve game aside, in 2021, they haven't done it. And now it's left us in a situation where we're basically praying for a miracle because our recent record against Atalanta is no bueno. And they're going to be fired up and ready to knock us out of the Champions League because they probably hate us more than they do Juve. Relying on Juve and Napoli spin up against Bologna, who have absolutely nothing to play for. And yeah, it's just pretty fun, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
It's worst case scenario. It honestly is. Like this, you could write this game off beginning of the season of every season. I think it's done. I think we're gonna be the laughing stock of Europe for.
I want to know what Gian thinks because apparently this man thinks we're gonna win.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I think when we've needed, obviously tonight, we didn't. But then other away games this season, especially against the big side, you look at Juve, Inter, I suppose that you can kind of class it as one. Roma, other teams, when we've needed to against these top sides, we've stepped up and we've done quite well. Our away form's pretty good. Napoli have got a very tough game midweek against Juve in the Coppa, which I'm guessing they'll just exert all their energy into. And Juve probably will too, and maybe, Juve win the Coppa Italia. Atalanta might also think, well, fuck them guys. I'm just pretty confident about it. I think long week's rest. I think we put too much energy into the Torino game. We could have just chilled at 4-0, but instead we went for the absolute, killer game. So I'm fairly confident. Like I've been all season, I trust these boys. So
yeah, overconfidence has been one of your themes. To be fair, I hope you're right in this. I hope you're right in this sense, because we need it. We really need it. I mean, are we all in agreement that Napoli and Juve are probably going to win their games? So
I wouldn't say Juve are nailed on to win, judging by the way that they've played.
I mean, here's the thing. If we can draw Cagliari, then Juve can draw Bologna.
That's true. And also, I don't think Napoli... I mean, they're at home, so they're going to fancy themselves, and they've been playing well in recent weeks, but I hope Verona...
Was it Verona, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
I hope Verona can make things difficult, especially if Ivan Juric is actually one of the managerial candidates for Napoli, because they're supposedly getting rid of Gattuso and appointing someone else. So that could be a weird one. But in my head, we need to go to Atalanta and win. We cannot rely on slip-ups from the other two teams. We were relying on a slip-up from Juve against Inter, and the only slip-ups were from the officials, which we maybe should have, seen coming. Never rely on a favour from Inter because they're useless. If they needed any other thing to devalue their Scudetto, then that's certainly one of them. Losing to the old champions as the new champions isn't really a good look, especially when you can't pay your players and you've done it in front of no fans. But it's what it is. Wouldn't mind being in their position. But yeah, we are basically relying on a miracle now. I do remember the time when we went there with Piontek when he was banging form and we won there 3-1. And Çalhanoğlu had probably one of his best games for us then. But apart from that, Bergamo is a hellhole for us, really. And I am not feeling all that confident about it at all. And it sounds like it's going to be a Sunday afternoon game as well. And we know what afternoon games mean. So that should be fun. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, if we look at the Cagliari game as it was, first of all, 2 hours before the game, Cagliari knew that they had achieved survival because Benevento had bottled a late lead at home against Crotone, who were already relegated. So that obviously gave them a massive boost. Now, we talked about it in the group chat. That can go one of two ways. It can either make a team forget about all their responsibilities for that upcoming game because they know the fate's already sealed, or it can give them a bit of freedom and an extra boost, a little burst of energy that they, perhaps didn't have before they knew that their fate was sealed and they were fine for another season. And it probably ended up being the latter because they were one of the more well-drilled teams that we've played at home this season. One thing, you can never blame an opponent when you fail to break them down when you need to win a game, but I'm a bit pissed off that they came and parked the bus. You've stayed up.
They took it to the corner flag in the 94th minute when it's 0-0. Like, I just don't see the point in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just seemed bizarre.
I was surprised by the entire approach, to be honest, because I thought that when the reports came out that he would rotate the starting lineup and give chances to some fringe players, I thought that would be pretty much nailed on, to be honest, because these last two games are kind of useless for Cagliari now. But they can use them as an opportunity to evaluate some younger players, whatever. They didn't. They played a full-strength 11. That's fine. I thought Nandez had the game of his life. João Pedro looked dangerous. On another day, Pavoletti probably puts that chance away. The best player on the pitch for me by an absolute country mile was Diego Godin. You see every single bit of the 36 years, or however many it'll be, like 18 years of experience he's got in football with a performance like that tonight. Every single ball we put into the box he dealt with. He kept tight to all of his assignments. And, that I have to tip my hat and say that was a fantastic performance from a centre-back that's done it, at the highest level. But we didn't have enough imagination. When we've been asked to break down teams that play and sit deep, particularly 3/5-man defences, packing out the midfield. How many times have we said it? We just haven't been able to break them down, especially at home. We've really struggled with it at home. As we know, our home form this season could end up costing us dearly with drop points against teams that we should absolutely be beating. But there were a lack of imagination. If perhaps in the game against Juve, we benefited from the fact that they also had to come at us a little bit and we exploited the spaces well. The Torino game, they also could have done with a point or three to secure their safety. So that's why they weren't intent on sitting back. And if anything, that Nicola, their manager, just opened them up at 3-0 down, and that was just bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start with the negatives from the Cagliari performance, apart from that mental fogging that we've seen in 2021, where the players are getting into good positions but not making the right decision and doing that over and over again for 90 minutes. And we sit there and think this is the same old story, just reared its head again. I thought there was bad substitutions. I don't think that the game was managed particularly well. I thought the double sub in particular was kind of baffling. I don't really understand what he said. He brought Mete on for physicality, and he did get about a bit, to be fair to him. But that's not what we needed at that time. We needed someone to pick the lock. We needed somebody to provide that bit of brilliance from nowhere. And Sandro Tonali was sat on the bench. And I don't understand that. Pioli says as well that he brought Mandzukic on with 2 minutes to go because he's had more physical problems this week, and 2 minutes was all that he could give us.
Fucking worthless, dude. Why?
Yeah, I would have just not bothered calling him up.
No, but I suppose when you're that desperate, a couple of minutes left to go, and you've got to throw in or a corner right up the attacking end, just an extra body, an extra bit of height, and he nodded the ball down for someone, didn't he? I know it's not a lot, but he kind of did something that he was supposed to do, and then just couldn't finish it. I thought Castiglione played really well.
He came on and tried to make things happen. I've absolutely slated the guy this season, and most Milan fans have, because he's like a black hole when it comes to attacking creativity. Everything that goes through him seems to go bad. But I will give him credit because in and amongst an attacking group that looked lost and looked out of ideas, he at least came on and tried to do something. He took the ball towards goal. He had shots. The only problem is that he's a terrible footballer. So when he had these shots, they were never on target. And that is a problem. That is a real problem. You know, if those chances had fallen to somebody else, I don't understand. For example, I understand bringing on Leao at half-time. I think pace, physicality, again, looking to exploit the gaps that were appearing. I thought we were going to go to that 4-2-2-2 again with Leao and Rebic up front. And I was optimistic when I saw the substitution, thought that could work out well. Then sort of Brahim Diaz ended up shifting out to the right wing and got completely lost in the game. So Pioli then had to retrospectively change that. So he brought him off for Samu, and that left us all scratching our heads a little bit. So some managers think several moves in advance, especially when it comes to substitutions and when it comes to changes in formation. I always feel like Pioli's slightly reacting to what he's done to try and fix some more problems that have come up. But you know, I can't pin everything today on him because I think the team froze under the lights of it.
At one
point, does it stop being the player's fault and start being the manager's fault?
No one's saying it's not the manager's fault.
I know. I'm asking you at one point. At what point do you think it's not the player's fault? Because in a game like this, the players need to be prepared and motivated, and they did not look prepared or motivated at all.
They looked nervous. They looked really nervous. And we did. This is what I don't understand: is that Torino on Wednesday night was a must-win game, and we came out and put 7 past them. Tonight was a must-win game, but with the added incentive that we are probably 1 goal away from qualifying for the top 4. And
I think what undid us tonight was the fact that everybody wanted to be a hero. Every player on that pitch wanted to make that killer pass. They wanted to get that killer goal, but then they all just kind of like froze and just ended up playing like absolute idiots throughout the game. And they couldn't find the final pass. They didn't know what final pass to make. And then you look at all these young players. They've never been in a situation like this before, where the game has so much riding on it, and they have just froze. Like, we can't slam Pioli for saying, "Oh, he hasn't got these players motivated enough," but then not giving praise for motivating the players against Juve and Torino because they were set up perfectly for them games. I think the players themselves today, as much as it is partly on the manager too, they just froze, they got nervous, and that's just what it came down to.
I think Zlatan motivated him for Juve. I don't think Pioli did. I think it was Zlatan who did that. You saw the way he was on the bus, the team talk, all that. I don't think Pioli did it. And I think they looked worse after halftime than they did in the first half.
I think
so
the fans
whatever he did at halftime didn't motivate him either.
I think the fans helped against Juve.
Bad. I don't think they did anything right today.
I was surprised that there wasn't something today with the fans, like there was no organised gathering outside. I know a few fans did go, and there were a few fans sort of, along the streets to welcome the bus. But I'm surprised they didn't do any kind of gathering for the last home game of the season, like I feel like they normally do. Might have helped, but you can't rely on the fans to get you over the line against a team that's guaranteed to finish in 17th place. That's just on 16th, whatever. It's just daft. And to Maddie's point, I think that there is never a game, regardless of the result, that is 100% on the players or 100% on the manager. It's almost always a combination of things. It can be the manager 75% got the tactical approach wrong, but you've got to put a bit of blame on the players for not executing his instructions. In this particular case, I reckon it's about 50-50, to be honest. I don't think that we had... It's just this idea that we keep running into the same problems with teams that come to defend and play a low block. We can't play through them. We know that we can't play through them without a target man. We've solved that problem on some occasions, but then tonight on the big occasion we didn't manage to solve it. So I attribute some blame to Pioli on that, and I attribute some blame to him with the predictions. And then with the players, we have a young squad. We have a young team, a young core that have done for large parts of the season have done us proud. You know, we've talked about how we've perhaps overperformed this season, given our average age and relatively what the expectations were. But at the same time, there is no denying that in the moments when we've perhaps needed that valuable 3 points just to give us a bit of breathing space, or like tonight, we were 1 win away. And as I say, probably 1 goal away. I think if we'd have taken the lead tonight, we'd have been fine. To be 1 goal away from qualifying for the top 4, they have frozen under the spotlight. And that's when you really do rely on your leaders out there on the field. We don't have player ratings because there was 2 games. But yeah.
You know, when you're only spending, you know, giving players $3.5 million a year, what kind of leaders do you think you're going to get? You're not going to get the leaders that make a difference.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, if you look at, for example, when we had the opportunity when Boban was here to bring in Luka Modric, potentially on a free transfer, but we decided not to bother because of the wages. Also because he wanted to stay at Real Madrid, but I feel like if you fight hard enough, you can probably get a player to come to his boyhood club. And obviously Boban left. You know, other players that we've been linked with that would have come in and made a definite difference. You know, the Kia signing, we got that spot on. He's been fantastic when you consider we paid £3.5 million for him. Become a real leader at the back. I sometimes think Kessie has been a leader in midfield without a doubt, and I thought he was really good again tonight. To be honest, not exceptional, but I thought he was good. He hoovered up. He did all right. But without Ibra in the team, unless we get an early goal, you see such an absence of leadership in those front 4 players. You know, I've seen so many times the media call Hakan one of the leaders, for example, in the attacking department. And I just think, when has he ever been that? When has he ever dragged us through games on his own? He never has. He's always been the guy who's been like a flat track bully. You know, when things are going well, he'll get in on the act. And yeah, I don't know. It's amazing what a difference a few days can make in terms of feeling very optimistic about the squad and the way the situation shaped up to now being like, this is a real reality check. And if we don't get top 4, it's going to have a massive hit on us from an economic point of view. I mean, Pioli came out after the game. I found this interesting and said, not getting in the top 4 wouldn't be a failure, but it would be a disappointment.
I think that's
think about that.
The leadership that's even said themselves that they haven't budgeted for Champions League football next year. So
because we're budgeting for the Super League.
It just kind of says that. Obviously, we all know that was the aim, but it does make you wonder if that is what he was told that he had to achieve. Hence why they've said they'll keep on next season even without it. So it's a strange one. I do think where I will, I suppose, blame him today for not having a plan B was he's probably prepared all week, expecting Cagliari to come out and play, having to fight for something, and instead they haven't had to. They've just sat back and we just couldn't find a way through them. I think Serie A, when it comes to the last couple of games of the season, when there's so much to play for, you probably have better having all the teams playing at the exact same time.
Yeah, I think that would have made a big difference today. And it could make a big difference next week. You know, like I was thinking back to 2018-19 when there was 3 games that all had something riding on them and it was changing all the time. You know, imagine if next Sunday when we're playing Atalanta, news comes through that Bologna have gone 1-0 up against Juve. That changes the way that we're approaching that game then. You know, we're no longer going gung-ho for a goal. And
I think you've also kind of think that they'll be looking at it, well, if we did fail tonight, which we did, we've still got next week to recover because we knew of the other results going away and stuff like that. So I think when it comes to the last few games of the season, they should all be played at the same time pretty much.
Yeah, I would like that moving forward, but it's one of those, isn't it? Like, it could have been actually that everything set itself up for us perfectly tonight and it gave us the opportunity to seal it ourselves, and we didn't take that opportunity. So we've got nobody to blame but ourselves. Struggled to pick out a man of the match. Mentioned a bit earlier, Kier, I thought was good. Everything that came in looked pretty good. I will have to look back and see if he did lose his man for the Godin header that was saved by Gigio. I thought Gigio was probably the man of the match. Made two fantastic saves. You know, if we'd have won that game 1-0, we could have said that's where you earn your money. You were the match winner / the match saver in this particular game. We've got top 4. You can have your 8 million. Thank you very much. But as it turns out, we haven't. So that whole thing is still up in the air. I thought Calabria struggled, to be honest. Not like him, but it was right to bring him off when he'd been booked. I thought Dallo came on and actually did all right. You're always going to look like a more attacking fullback when you're pushing so hard for a goal. But he did get himself into more dangerous places and put in a few crosses that were far better than anything that had gone in before. Tomori and Kia good. Teo, I thought, was just not at the races. He went on one run when he managed to sort of offload the ball as he does into a good position, but the opportunity was squandered. Thought it was weird to bring Benacer off. But the biggest disappointment for me by a mile was Hakan. I mean, how many set-piece opportunities did we have where he didn't beat the first man?
Yeah, we had 4 corners in a row, and not one of them was because it was saved and punched out or anything. It was just we couldn't get our player. It just went straight into one of their defenders and out for another corner.
Or if it beat the first man, then it beat every single man and went way over. It's just shocking. He frustrates me so much because you can't question his ability because his day is fantastic. But this is the argument we've all had. His inconsistency is killing him. And
it's the same with
contract renewal. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we talk about how Rebic only scores worldies and then misses the easy stuff. He had a point-blank header today, arguably almost an open net, and it went straight in the air. It went vertical twice. He did that twice.
Yeah, he could have settled that.
He could have done anything.
Is that the one where he's having his shirt tugged?
Yeah, there was one that he headed wide. One that he headed wide that I thought was a penalty. He had his shirt basically ripped over his shoulder like that, and I thought if they'd have had a look at that, then
even the Milan commentator said that he should have gone and had a look at it. That says all you need.
They did. Yeah, that does say everything. But I ain't. A debatable penalty perhaps didn't settle the outcome of the game. But yeah, Rebic, again, another player who's hot and cold, and he was cold today when we needed him. And you think about Hakan with his renewal. Let's say Hakan on his day is potentially an €8 million a year player. When he's fantastic, he contributes goals and assists. He's dangerous from set pieces. He pulls the strings. He plays the number 10 role, which it's kind of a dying art in football now, so there aren't too many of him. Let's say he has his day 1 in every 4 or 5 games. I'd go to him and say that's why you're a €2.5 million a year player. Because you've got the potential to be this good, but you only show it a quarter of the time. And I don't think I wouldn't be going back with an improved offer. No way. I think it's time to look at other solutions. And I don't know. As for Gigio, I guess we'll find out. I'll almost be kind of, I don't know, not disappointed if they both end up renewing. But I think it'll be a pretty big anticlimax in a way.
I'd like Gigio to resign, but Hakan can leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After today, say what you will about those substitutions, the only people that looked like they were playing to win were Donnarumma, Dallo, and Mate. Everyone else, they assumed we were.
Calabria.
Calabria sucked today. He was awful.
Yeah,
I don't know what it.
No, but I still look like he still just because he played bad did not mean he did not look like he cared.
I'm not saying he didn't care. It just looked like everyone else thought it was just going to happen eventually. Like we were just going to get to it.
That was one thing I noticed. I think that they were playing the law of averages, and rather than trying to actually produce that bit of magic, they just kept putting balls into the same area and thinking eventually something's going to work. And it against a team like Cagliari, who've been good and they've been organised, and I said last week that we were going to find this game difficult because of what they did to Napoli, and it proved to kind of happen that way. I'll give
our last 15 home matches against them.
Yeah. It's been the season of snapping streaks, hasn't it? We hadn't won in Torino since 2012. We hadn't won away against Juve since 2010. We hadn't been blanked by Cagliari at home since 1997. So that's another one to tick off. But the only other name that I would throw out there, I would say that I don't think he was great. But in terms of being direct and trying to make stuff happen, I thought Leao was okay. He at least dribbled at players and beat them. And he stood up a really good cross that nobody was on the end of from the byline.
There was a lot of those. Like,
yeah,
they were putting balls into the box, and there was just nobody there.
Yeah.
Times like that where you think Ibra, or if Mandzukic had given us 20, 25 minutes, then perhaps we're looking at a different outcome. But
It's times like
that's
that
another
where
thing.
you want your players to just gamble on it. Like, everything's riding on it. Just go throw yourself in it. Put a diving header, anything. You just do something to
I
make
would have
yourself
rather
stand out.
conceded on a counter while pushing for a goal than to see the bullshit we did today. It looked like we were the team that just needed a point for safety, but what we were
also, conceding a goal wouldn't have made our situation any worse at all.
exactly. So just go for it.
It's the same situation where we need to win next week to be guaranteed. I
would rather an injured Ibra start against Atalanta than whatever the fuck this was today.
Yeah, Ibra with a dodgy cartilage. We ought to actually mention that Ibra's out for the season. He's out 6 weeks with knee cartilage problem, but the specialist has been on the phone and he could potentially need anything from longer therapy to minor surgery, which would, I guess, be like what Calabria had, that aristhoroperic, whatever it is, keyhole surgery in your knee. So I don't know about Zlatan. I think he might be done.
I said it to AJ last week just before the pod started, I think he's finished. And I hope I'm wrong with that, but I think this summer, if he has like a relapse halfway through his treatment or something like that, I think he'll hang up his boots.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult, isn't it? Because he's always said publicly he'll keep playing as long as he thinks he can give something to Milan. At what point is he thinking, I need to stick to my word on that? I can't take 7 million a year off a team that I'm not playing for. You know, I think that will come into it at some point, although it sounds like we've loaded up with a lot of bonuses to make it up to that 7 mil. I still don't mind him being here as long as he can guarantee us 20 games, but that means that the situation we found ourselves in means we're going to have to pour money into signing a new striker while we're paying another striker 7 million for potentially 15, 20 games. And that's a difficult one. It's a tough sell, you know.
We need to go for a starting striker, and Zlatan's going to have to accept the fact that he's not the star striker anymore. He might be the best player on our team, but he cannot consistently start, so he's not going to be consistently relied on. We need someone that can go in, week in, week out.
I really don't mind Ibra being saved to play 1 in every 4 games like this, that tonight. You know, where having a big man, having some presence with a target man. You know, Zlatan dominated Godin in the return fixture, and we didn't have anyone like that. Simi, what's he on now? 20 goals for the season. Magical, man. Right, should we preview Atalanta then?
Yes.
I know we don't want to after tonight, but let's do it. Right, so Atalanta this season, they're second. They could actually surrender second place to us if they lose on Sunday. Whether that's a big deal to them, they've got the Coppa Italia final on Wednesday night, so they might be tired. They might, take the opportunity on Sunday to rotate some players. But my gut feeling is they're going to go hard for this game. There's absolutely no reason why they would take it easy on us or rotate or anything. They want to. Their motivation. Yeah, their motivation is to finish second without a doubt. And obviously, they probably actually dislike us more than they dislike Juve because of the Lombardy rivalry. So I've got a feeling they're going to have it in for us. And Gasperini seems to hate us as well for whatever reason, the irrelevant old man. So, Atalanta this season, they've been good. A second half of the season, they've been absolutely fantastic, unstoppable. I mentioned last week that I have absolutely no problems with them them finishing second spot as long as we get top 4 because I feel like they've deserved it on the balance of things. They've only lost once since January, and that was that 1-0 defeat at Inter, and that was for me the game that kind of took the Scudetto a bit away from us, to be totally honest. Them beating Atalanta and blanking them was like, oh shit, they're for real kind of thing. But since that, they've won 10 out of 12 games since they lost to Inter. They score 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals for fun. They're just the same Atalanta we've known for the last couple of seasons, really. Free scoring, fun to watch. They've scored 90 goals in 37 games, which is
for all times.
in total.
Yeah, it's over 100 now.
Yeah, it is over 100. They scored 10 in the Champions League, and they even managed to score 1 in the knockout stages. So yeah, it's comfortably over 100 in all competitions. Same old danger men that we know about by now. Duvan Zapata, Luis Muriel. Their attack is so strong that they've basically allowed a player as good as Ilicic, who dominated us at San Siro early this season, to basically rot on the bench now, because Gasperini doesn't like him anymore. And that's how strong they are in the depth that they have. Pessina's played a starring role in the second half of the season. I would seriously have a look at potentially bringing him back if we can't get Brahim Diaz back on loan, because I think he's proving his worth there, and obviously we have that 50% resale clause. But aside from that, Malinovsky has been absolutely brilliant. Gian has been one of the ones who's been very vocal about signing him, and I totally agree with it. I know he's 28, but he's just been fantastic this season, and he's made that attacking midfield role his own, really. But yeah, they're just a good team, a well-oiled team, annoyingly. Christian Romero's been having a fantastic season, to be honest. Robin Gosens as well. I'm not particularly... one of the big signings that they made, Alexei Miranchuk from Lokomotiv Moscow, a player that we were linked with and might have actually done us good in the second half of the season. Again, he's one of those who's been struggling for playing time because they've just got that many attacking pieces to throw out there. Which, all of the above, leads me to just be completely worried about this game. Recent record at their stadium, the fact they've got a point to prove and second place to snatch, the fact that we went into a game that we knew we needed to win tonight and failed to do so, and I think that will have dented the confidence of the players. I'm just not feeling it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think we're relying on a slip-up from Napoli or Juve, and if they've got one more slip-up in them, based on the games that they've got compared to us, then I would say we deserve top 4 over them. But if they don't slip up, I'll say we don't deserve it, to be honest, because we couldn't put Cagliari away tonight. So anyway, based on that, my prediction for Sunday is a 2-0 loss.
I'm going to go 1-0 win with a Salamaker goal.
Hey.
Gian will get us 40 pounds.
I'll go 2-1 win.
4-0 loss.
Really? That bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, we ought to mention as well at this point, because it hasn't been mentioned on the pod. Me and Maddie both have a bet with Gian. I lost my head after one game and said, I bet you 20 quid to Gian that we don't finish in the top 4, and he took that bet. And then Maddie chimed in and said, I'll double that bet, and that was accepted.
Decided to start bottling it.
Started to use the currency exchange rate as a potential cop-out, which was questionable, really, from a man of honour such as Madison. But yeah, so basically the Jan's getting 60 quid, or me and Madison are getting a combined 60 quid.
I'll tell you what, I hope I have to pay you.
I really do too. I would pay £20 at this point for a top 4 finish.
Yeah, I'd pay 40 for sure.
Now, I do want to highlight some small positives.
I'm not going to take it off you, boys.
You should.
I will.
What did you say?
It's beer money, isn't it, to celebrate? Yeah, I just want to highlight a couple of small glimmers of hope for this Atalanta game. Number one, it ain't going to be a game like tonight. They're not going to sit deep. They are going to have a go at us, and it's just whether we can be better than them on the counter-attack. If it's another Torino-style clinical performance, we could find ourselves up in the game, and then that puts the pressure back on them. And who knows, other scorelines might be helping us. So just throwing that out there in case it happens. And the other thing is, if you believe in the romance of football and you believe in fate, this whole thing, this whole cycle under Pioli nearly ended with defeat in Bergamo against Atalanta when we lost 5-0. There was rumours of him being sacked, but ultimately that was the game that made us go out and get some experience for the squad through signing Ibra, through signing Kier. That was the game that sort of pointed out that our youth project needs a bit of adjustment. And if you believe in things coming full circle, it would be quite funny if we went to Bergamo and did them and finished second.
Yeah, they also let in 3 goals this weekend, so we could still score.
Who'd they play?
Genoa.
They did, yeah. It was 4-3. What I was trying to think what the result was.
Geez, yeah, okay. In my head, I was thinking they lost 3-0.
They did also go 4-1 up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they nearly flapped it, to be fair to them. Yeah.
I think it shows that they have got vulnerabilities at the back, which they do. And if we can get the first goal, then it's just in our favour. I think. Yeah. I don't think they'll chase a game if we're 1-0.
I don't think it's going to be a 4-0 loss. I think it's going to be a game
to win, but I don't think if we go ahead, I don't think they'll put everything in the game to come back and try and get a win. If that makes sense,
I think they will.
I don't think they'll give everything to come back, and I think we'll be able to do enough defensively. 4 clean sheets in a row now is pretty impressive.
Well, yeah, that much is true. Yeah, that is true.
Defensively, we look solid again.
We haven't faced an attack quite like Atalanta's. I mean, obviously Juve were misfiring, but that was still an excellent clean sheet. But the other 2 clean sheet, well, obviously Benevento, I'd actually be disappointed if we conceded to them. Probably the same for Torino and probably the same for tonight. But you're right, we haven't conceded a goal now in over 360 minutes. So that is a positive to take into the game. Also, if we go 1-0 up, it's just the psychology. They'll be chasing it then. They've already qualified, obviously, but as I say, they want to finish second, so they'll be chasing the game. And that makes things a bit more interesting because that's when things start to open up at the other end. And they've conceded 45 goals this season, which isn't terrible. But at the same time, I'm looking down their list of results and there ain't many clean sheets, which suggests they are, in fact, the same old Atalanta. Let's hope that Maddie, you predicted a win, did you?
1-0.
Okay. Let's hope me and AJ are wrong. And we managed to do it because, and this might be the title of the episode, to be honest, the champagne is on ice at the moment. The beer that we had ready for this episode is back in the fridge.
No, it's been drunk.
Yeah,
I'm currently drinking it.
The lads have been drinking. Don't blame them. That's it, and then that'll be it. That'll be the 2020-21 season over after that. So we'll do the post-match recap next week and stuff like that, and then probably the episode after that we'll do some kind of end-of-season awards and stuff like that. Maybe another quiz. We'll see. But yeah, that's it. One more game to go, and it is huge. I say the 2018-19 game when we were relying on slip-ups from Inter and from Atalanta. Another thing, do you believe in fate? At least this time we're on the inside looking out and we don't, it's in our hands, That's just another small thing I'm thinking of.
I just would love for Juve to miss out on Champions League. So bad.
Yeah, me too.
They've got Bologna, haven't they? So let's hope Mihajlovic does us a bit of a favour being next into Easter and then obviously our coach, so you never know.
How the fuck did Inter bottle a game against Juve?
Because they're spineless.
And the referee decisions were diabolical.
Yeah, they were.
Actually diabolical.
They
like,
also
if you ever thought
already. So
if you ever thought Serie A were rigged, then that just confirmed it.
Yeah, I texted my dad that earlier. I was saying, I was trying to explain Inter bottled it, which means that after tonight's result, we're now in a difficult position. Bad, refereeing decision that resulted in Juve winning, and you just think, do the league, really, really not want Juve to miss out because it would be catastrophic for the image and stuff like that.
I was surprised that Valeri was on the VAR today, and that's why we didn't get that penalty award.
Nah.
Was he on
Yeah, he was on the
VAR. Yeah. I don't think the referee was bad, actually, to be totally honest. In fact, if anything, he missed a couple of fouls in their favour, like when Teo cleaned João Pedro out and got him off here. But yeah, you're right with the VAR thing. Anyway, listener questions, shall we do?
Just do like one or two.
Yeah, okay. Kay asks, why doesn't Pioli have a plan B? His only tactic is 4-2-3-1.
Because he's garbage. He's not good enough.
Oh, here we go.
Well, AJ said it for the rest of us.
I think he does have to answer it. If I'm trying to be pro Pioli about it for a second, I think he does have other tactics. We've seen him kind of switch to a 4-4-2, 4-2-2-2, whatever you want to call it. The problem is that he can deploy these different formations, but we still don't have the ideas to break teams down. And I've said many times I would like to see us try a 3-5-2 or something like that, because I think it would really work for our squad if you look at the players we have on paper. But it's definitely not the right time to try something radical like that. So he's just done small tweaks as the season's gone along. And if it scrapes us into the top 4, then we'll say, okay, it's just good enough for now. But if we end up missing out, I think he will come under serious scrutiny. And that seems bizarre to say after we've won 7-0 and 3-0 recently.
I think even if we get 4th place, he should come under scrutiny. We were in 1st place in February, and now we're battling to get in top 4. That's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that it is baffling.
I mean, I don't think it is, but I've already given my views on it hundreds of times. So
I don't think that if, sacking Pioli is going to be the right decision, but to question it, to not question it, come on.
I think he's got to come under some scrutiny, but we've also got to look further at it. The players that he's having to coach, the lack of backing that he got when we was at the top of the league in January, the fact that our Scudetto push was signing Mete and Mandzukic.
1,000%.
That didn't help it. That didn't help the injuries that he's had to cope with. There's many other factors. Obviously, it is a shame how far we have dropped off from where we were, but I don't think it's baffling to say that he should be in charge next season. Give him better players, give him better squad depth on the bench, so that he doesn't have to bring on Krunic, so he doesn't have to bring on Mete, Castillo, and then judge him a bit more. But otherwise, we're just going to go through the same cycle again, because there's no managers out there at the minute that I think they'd happily take on this team with the lack of backing that he's got.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if we were to
it's also management's fault. It's not just him, or the entire club is at fault here.
I think we had the chance, to spend the Champions League money early in January, knowing that if we get Champions League, it's an extra 50 mil plus, and we could have bought some serious reinforcements in January with that money. We could have bought the young striker that we needed, and probably a midfielder like a Lokonga or something, to bolster the team better in terms of depth and in terms of reliable players that fit the project. But we didn't. We tried to do it on the cheap, a loan with option, and a free agent. And it's like the old saying, there's a tide in the affairs of business, and if you take it at the right time, then it leads to fortune. And I feel like we've kind of missed the boat in that sense. And I think people will look back at the January window and say it was a 1 out of 3. Tomorrow was right, the other 2 weren't.
Tomorrow was right, and we might not even redeem him, worst case scenario.
Which is shocking.
It is, but this is what I mean. You are playing a lot of the blame on the management side of it by not backing him when we're top of the league. You back him and bring in 2 or 3 quality players that you don't then need to bring in the summer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You put all your eggs in that basket and say, there you go. And then if he still has the fall that we've had, then you could say, right, Pioli, get out. You've been backed. You've crumbled.
And also the management for allowing the renewal situations to dominate the headlines for months on end and not getting them resolved. How much of that has been forced by the agents to the players, we don't know. But at the same time, it hasn't been helpful. Having that uncertainty around 2 of your key players, especially when every time Hakan does something good, he's going on Instagram and shushing people. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one to take. Poor AJ looks really fed up, so I will just do a couple more questions and then we can leave him to drink more.
What gives you that idea?
Am I not doing a good job at hiding it?
Looks like he's just released a rap album. Maybe that should be Rafael's next career move. Filippo Berio's sun-dried to... I think is that a pasta sauce? Yeah, it is. Sun-dried tomato pesto. Nicky Pass. Do you think Zlatan should extend his contract but take a
No.
managerial/training role instead, just so he doesn't kill himself on the field?
Well, he's already extended his contract, so
I guess he
think
means to.
hurting your knee is going to kill yourself. But I would like to see him in a managerial coaching role within the club.
I think he's already kind of in one, isn't he? When we think about
Yeah,
it, he's
for
kind
sure.
of like a play coach already.
Yeah.
He's not teaching these players how to score, so he's not very good at it.
Apart from when we scored 7 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, right.
Coaching. Look at every player that becomes a coach for Milan. They're all garbage. He doesn't need to hurt his legs.
He's not going to become a head coach. Just being part of the training staff.
When he's done, and then that's it. Right off into the sunset. Go sell your fucking vitamin water, whatever.
If the management is serious this summer, they'll bring in 2 strikers at least, I think.
Yeah.
They
regardless
cannot rely
of Champions
on
League or not.
If you get Ibrahimovic fit for the full season, then it's a bonus. But to think that you're going to get any more than 10, 15 games out of him next season is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
our finances are the healthiest they've been in a decade. We need to go all out whether we qualify or not, so that we guarantee we qualify next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got to take the risk.
Like we just said,
I hate to break it to you guys, but this management's not going to spend all out. That's just not. They're just not going to do it.
Which is fair, but then you can't be too critical of the players and the manager when they can only do so much without the rebacking. Like that's then when it comes up to the ownership and then the higher management. If they're not willing to back the team, then we're just going to be in this endless cycle of sacking managers, having bang average players, and hoping to try and make a little bit of a profit.
7 years and counting, that cycle's gone on for, so definition of insanity, innit? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you expect a different result.
Anyways, this is episode, 152 now?
Is that what it is? Oh, yeah, we had the 150th recently, and I didn't even realise it was coming, so I feel bad that we missed that milestone. I would have had balloons in the background.
I think that was the Lazio.
Yeah, that was probably why. Okay. I'll read out a couple of comments because I'll feel bad if I don't. These players let the whole fan base down, no heart or effort. Why was Calabria taken off? I don't understand. Samu and Mete being subbed on. This is from Michael Gambino. Samu and Mete being subbed on has run its course. Tonali and Hauger would have done as good, if not better. This one falls heavy on Pioli. A lot of comments rather than questions that are fair observations. Final question from the Magnifico. How do we start against Atalanta? I mean, my 11 would probably not be too different, to be totally honest. I don't think the starting 11 was something that you can criticise today. I don't think there were many other options.
I would have changed the subs, though, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why Hauga has not gotten any minutes. Whenever he comes on as a sub, I feel like he scores.
Yeah, I think Jan's said a few times, I think something will come out about exactly why he's been handled the way that he has. I've speculated about all kinds of stuff, like maybe he's very close to stress fracturing something because of his workload, or there can be all kinds of medical reasons as to why he's not playing. I refuse to believe that it's entirely tactical. The reason for that is his last contribution was earning us what could end up being a massive point against Sampdoria. If we ended up finishing him by a point, you can look at that and say, what an amazing contribution. He hasn't played a single minute since then, and that's why I refuse to believe it's out of tactical choice. I think there is something more to it.
Yeah, because when he first got here, he played quite a bit, to be fair, and then he got that good run in January. So there's definitely more behind the scenes in the fact that people aren't seeing that and just thinking it's as simple as throwing him on. I don't get it. If he could be thrown on, he would be, because Pioli's proven that before, that he was willing to give him minutes and things like that. So
he's not done anything to betray his trust. He's not scored an own goal or had a 3 out of 10 or anything. There's been games where he's been a bit hit and miss, but Christ, if we were benching players for that, then Sammy wouldn't get another minute either. But the actual question, how do we start against Atalanta in a more general sense, is quite an interesting one. Because do we go all out from the first... Well, not all out, but do we go from the first minute trying to get a goal as soon as possible?
I think we have to.
But then do we risk conceding and all of a sudden everything's gone to shit?
Well, I think that you play the same starting 11, but you start out attacking.
Yeah. I don't think it matters if we push and concede or if we sit back and 0-0. Like, we need a win.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm going to be brave here and I'm going to say we start out similar to the way we did against Man United away in that first leg. We were fantastic.
Even though we lost that one, but playing like that.
We drew 1-1, but we didn't have obviously the same quality that we had, but just something similar. We were solid all over the pitch, really. We were just lacking that final something. And if we've got that on the bench, whether it be Leao, Hakan, Rebic, I'm not saying start Castillo, I'm just saying go in with a similar approach and just try hit them on the counter, things like that.
We could have won because we had a goal wrongfully disallowed.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. I just wondered if we've got a better chance the longer the game stays at 0-0.
No.
I don't see us outgunning Atalanta and winning 3-2 or anything. I think if we do it, it's going to be shithousery. And that's why I just wondered if perhaps being a bit smart and a bit clever about it could help us. We certainly weren't when we went there and lost 5-0. We tried to get on the front foot early on. We actually didn't do too bad for the first half hour, maybe even the first hour, and then just completely fell apart in that last half an hour and lost 5-0. But
that's all we do. The second it gets bad, we never improve. We just get worse. This team is so mentally weak when they go behind. They just
a lot of 3-0 defeats this season.
We have to push forward from the moment it begins, and we cannot let up. Even if we go ahead, we cannot let up. We got to keep pushing. It's the only way.
It is one of those things which take all the context out of it. Take our bad form against Atalanta. Take tonight's disappointment out of the equation, and you put it simply, it's 90 minutes with our own destiny in our hands. The finish line is in sight. It's 11 blokes against 11 blokes. There's 2 other results that could yet help us out. Who knows? Maybe it could be our day. For the last 7 years, it hasn't been our year. Maybe this year it is.
I think we've got everything in our locker to beat him, and we've proven that by the sides that we have beaten this year. We've beaten Juve, we've beaten Lazio, we've beaten Napoli, we've beaten as good as beating Man United in a sense if we count that disallowed goal. So we've got enough in us to do it. I think the way to approach the full week is maybe the first 2 days, just nothing on the training ground, just do it all tactically, let the players have some rest, get some fresh legs back, and then just work on as many different routines as we can, set plays, as long as Calhanoglu's nowhere near them or anything like that. But just something. The players are going to have to show that. I think there were a picture that went around the club saying we have to show we're worthy of this jersey, and it's true. If they qualify and Calhanoglu scores a winner, give him that contract. I don't really care. Like, someone's got to step up on Sunday and do it.
I know if someone does do it, they'll be a hero, just like they would have been tonight.
It'll be an £80 million goal, essentially.
I'm just glad we're not wearing that new ugly home shirt.
We might do. We shouldn't. We should wear all white in theory, but it's happened before where we've won against blue and black stripes. Obviously,
I don't think we will just because it's next season, so I don't think we will.
No. Just looking here, actually, Atalanta have lost more games at home than they have away. They lost at home to Sampdoria, at home to Hellas Verona, and they got beat 3-1 at home by Lazio. So maybe have a look at that. Have a look at how they beat them. That'd be good. That's it. Right. Going to be pretty much bang on an hour. But thank you if you've made it this far, because I appreciate that it has not been the most uplifting of episodes. But who knows? We might be back in a week's time, and we've all got smiles on our faces and beers in our hands. But yeah, thank you for listening. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. Twitter's on screen at Ollie Fisher. Been joined by Anthony Torgrud.
See you guys.
I hope you guys enjoyed the Oliver Fisher show, because he's the only one who talked this week. I don't know if Anthony was here or not, but Gian?
Yeah, it's been good to be on again, I guess.
I might just clip that and have that go out later in the week as a clip.
Next week should be a lot better, and we'll be pissed. Hopefully, either way, I'll be pissed. So
yeah, I think we need to drink. Also, next week, if we do qualify, we'll hopefully we'll open it up and there'll be more people, so we can have a bit of a group celebration. That would be kind of good way to end the season and stuff. But we don't know, do we? But yeah. If you haven't already, subscribe, like the video, that'd be great. Comment, let us know your feedback, all that kind of stuff. Check out our merchandise if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's everything. And we will see you in a week's time, hopefully with top 4 in the bag.
Andrea Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!